All right.
Good evening. We're going to call to order the Special Contact Committee meeting. Do the roll call here. Tom,
Present.
Mitch is my alternate.
Here.
Myself. We got three items of business this evening. We'll get started on these and get this done quick. First item is a liquor license, C1, C2 liquor license for NPEA STDT LLC and Storage, which is the drive-through down on East High Avenue. Is that East and Beaver? Or Fair and Beaver?
It's Beaver and Ray.
Beaver and Ray, yeah. Want to know if we want to have a hearing on this? Does anybody, any interest in having a hearing on this? Any?
Nope. You don't have any complaints?
No complaints.
I think this was,
I think
the
it's a
drive-through
transfer.
is transferred.
Yeah, it's a transfer.
Yeah.
So, all right, with no action to be taken on that, we'll just,
Bring it up for voice vote.
Voice vote, it's council meeting.
okay. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda then for this evening. And then the next one is Family Dollar Stores of Ohio LLC on State Route 39 in New Philly. No issues there. This is a new liquor license there. So any issue, like there's no issues out there. Any complaints, any reason to have a hearing? All right, and we'll put that on for a vote this evening also. And then the third item of business came from Marvin. It's ordinance number 27, 2024. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of New Philly to enter into an agreement with the Tuscarawas County Public Defender's Office for the provision of legal representation for indigents charged with violations of New Philadelphia City ordinances in the municipal court where such offenses carry a possible loss of liberty, establishing a compensation and terms thereof, and declaring an emergency. I'm assuming this is just a normal.
That's a yearly
Standard
thing.
procedure.
Yearly, standardly, any action to be taken on that one?
I'll make a motion to add, what was,
27, 2024.
I'll make,
I'm just gonna note that this is something, by doing this, we save a lot of money. They give us a good rate compared to what it would be if we had to do it by case by case.
Okay,
and I'll make a motion to add resolution 27, ordinance 27, 2024 to
all right.
tonight's agenda.
We will add that to this evening's agenda. Also, do we need to pass that on an emergency or anything, or does it need, can it go for
I
three
think
readings?
that's by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
You can go
Okay, so
three
we'll just
readings
do
on
three
it,
readings
like-
on it.
We don't have enough votes to do anything tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we got 2 yeses, and I'll vote yes. We'll put that on the agenda also this evening for the first reading. Is there anything else to come before this committee this evening? Nothing heard.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
6:48.
Yep.
We'll call our public hearing to order here, and we're here this evening to discuss the new zoning codes for New Philadelphia. It's been a 2-year process
Yep.
or more. And so tonight we have with us Wendy Moeller from Compass Point Planning, and we also have Joshua Thies, our Philly Code Administrator. So I'm gonna turn it over to you folks to talk about it. We can ask questions of Wendy, and guess there's no public here, so just be a small group. So Wendy, come up front, or
Yeah.
Josh,
So
you
you're
can,
recording?
if you wanna come up here,
Yes,
Josh, you
we're
can sit up
recording.
as well.
Okay. I'll speak here if
Do you-
you wanna sit there.
Yeah, do you need the projector on?
I
there?
don't.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give the planning commission version of the presentation.
Careful,
I will pare it down.
off on you. Oh, you don't want to sit in Marvin's seat?
We're friendly guys.
Well, hello, everybody. I've met, met most of you, but, again, my name's Wendy Moeller with Compass Point Planning. I helped work, I think just under 2 years, worked with the city on this process to update the planning and zoning code. I've spent a lot of time talking to Joshua, I was the mayor, to Ron, kind of trying to tailor a planning and zoning code that's gonna work for the city and what they're trying to accomplish. Also with the planning commission, I was up here 5 or 6 times at least, if not more. So all I wanted to do today is really be available for questions, but I thought I would hit the bullet points of some of the major changes, mostly not affecting the city council except for the adoption of it, because things like the zoning amendment process haven't changed. And so that's where our principal role of you, but I will hit one point where you're gonna have a new role. So just so you have kind of a heads up, the major changes in administration type things is we've taken the Downtown Design Review Board and we made it the Design Review Board. Right now, their role is still related to downtown. And it is focused on, we gave some more architectural standards for downtown, a little bit stronger teeth. But we changed the name because eventually they could become like a historic preservation commission. We've incorporated a procedure to establish local districts and local landmarks. None have been established as of yet. We just set you up that somewhere down the line you want to do it. You got a commission to do it, you just go through that process. We've also moved it from the building code to the zoning code because it's more related to zoning than it is to actual construction standards and stuff. With the planning commission, the major change we did there is we moved conditional use review from Board of Zoning Appeals to the Planning Commission, which is in line with what most municipalities in Ohio do. So now the Planning Commission will kind of have to evaluate those uses that may be appropriate in districts if there's some additional review to look at their site location. A lot of churches and schools and residential districts, and then some more intense uses in the commercial districts where it's like, okay, that might be all right. A good example of a new use we added where the Planning Commission will be reviewing is what we call adaptive reuse of pre-existing buildings. So where there's a building, like an old industrial building in a residential district, or an old car dealer or fuel station in a residential district, those aren't gonna be easily redesigned into residential. But if somebody wanted to come and say, maybe it's a single family district and we want to take an old industrial building and turn it into multifamily, because we can accommodate that within the existing building, the Planning Commission can consider that as a conditional use. So that moves us away from use variances, so you can't do those anymore, but if you've got an existing building, there's the ability to kind of give a little broader reconsider for that adaptive reuse. Now, the building has to be of a structure that can't be easily, retrofitted for whatever allowed use is. So, it's not like you can take a 2-family building, that's been converted to one and then try to go somewhere else. But we're hoping that helps with some of your older buildings. They don't have to be historic, national or local, but hopefully that will get some creative reinvestment going. One of the biggest changes is to the map that's behind you there. It's not gonna look at all like that anymore because you only have one residential district now and we've given you 4. The new R1 district will be a single family only district. The R2 is essentially what your R district is now, so single family, 2-family by right, multifamily is a conditional use. The R3 district is a new district that we have established as like a kind of urban residential that's a donut around downtown. So there you can do some townhomes or something with a little bit more intensity, not huge apartment buildings, but you can get 8 or 12 units per acre there. And part of that is to get people close to downtown, pack it in there. We also have a new R4 district, which is a multifamily, kind of more intense multifamily district. We don't have that on the zoning map yet, but if somebody wants to come and do a new big multifamily district, they would have that option to ask for that, instead of going through a conditional use process. So a bigger project, you may want to rezone it. We added a public facilities district for all your major, like the airport, most of the schools, most of the city's major institutional uses, the hospitals, just because it's a little bit better to identify those on the zoning map, but also it makes it easier for them to do things that are offshoots of their purpose. So for the hospital to build an office building now, they have to go through special hoops. But if they're in a public facility district where hospitals are allowed, it's a lot easier for them to expand. Same with your schools and colleges and campuses like that. In your business districts, we kind of reframed them, but we haven't really added much to them. We did expand that you can have more mixed use. So you will be allowed to do, come in with developments that have the kind of downtown feel of commercial on our first floor and apartments above, or they could come in with almost like what we call a live-work unit, where there's a business in front and a dwelling behind it. Again, trying to reuse all this commercial thing and give some flexibility. We had a lot of discussion about giving flexibility for what the market might demand, especially along some of the critical corridors where it could go kind of either way. We added a corridor overlay district that is right now around West High. The corridor design district is really kind of intended to try to get some more streetscape improvements. So we have established some special sign restrictions, so you're not going to get really tall signs along that corridor. We've also established some frontage landscaping so that you'll start to see, hopefully over time, we were talking about this, people will have to put a couple of trees up front that will start to mimic a streetscape. Again, we're not trying to, require a huge amount of landscaping. It's like one tree every 50 feet or something like that. But over the course of time, given that you don't have a lot of right-of-way there, you should start to see some improvements as people start to redevelop. The one place where council will see potential, and I think actually you will likely see that sooner rather than later, we did add a plan unit development. So that's a new tool that the city doesn't have now that many communities have. It is designed to allow a developer to come to you and say, here is my comprehensive kind of plan for this site, as one big development site. It's intended to be used for larger developments, or we have allowed exceptions for it if it's like a big, like a property that's next to downtown where they want some significant density. So what will happen is somebody will come to you and they will have a preliminary plan, and it goes along with the zone change to PUD. So you will be approving, or hopefully approving, or denying, but you will be reacting to an actual plan in front of you of the land uses and what it will look like. There are open space requirements, there are some density limitations, but it gives some flexibility, particularly for larger scale developments. If you approve that, it is essentially approving the plan, and then they would go through essentially a site plan review with Planning Commission to kind of go through development. If that doesn't work out, let's say the developer goes defunct or something like that, somebody can resubmit a new plan or they can rezone it. So you will be, as council members, seeing plan unit developments as they come along. And I keep forgetting the site that we were thinking about downtown, the
Housing Buffalo.
Thank
site.
you. That's an example of a site where if they wanted to come and, we've rezoned it to commercial, but if they wanted to come and do something that's like really kind of a unique, maybe an offshoot of downtown, they could do that as kind of one cohesive development. And then it can also be used in other parts for like, maybe somebody who wants to do a residential development that's got a mixture of housing types that wouldn't be accommodated within a singular residential district. They could come in with that. So that's a big change. With everything else, like landscaping, parking, and signs, we did a complete overhaul. Are we gonna be able to take into account that some people like certain things? No, we didn't go over the board and trying to regulate colors and schemes like that, but we made it easier, I think, to calculate sign area. You don't have to have a math degree. We did have to make some changes legally from the sign standpoint because of some Supreme Court cases and freedom of speech. But I think we've made it about as easy to understand as possible. Landscaping and parking, we just modernized what you had. You had some basic requirements, but we just kind of cleaned it up. Again, not trying to go overboard on burdening anybody or like requiring extensive things. It was focused, like landscaping is focused on buffering residential from commercial, or residential from industrial. You're not getting into like Hudson or Dublin, Ohio, that likes to regulate every little thing. No, we just wanted to give you some basic tools that kind of makes everybody work well together. With that, I think that's kind of the 10-minute overview of kind of the significant changes we have there, but otherwise I'm here for questions.
Any questions, Wendy? No questions?
What did did the planning commission make you, or ask you to do a couple things at the end, make some changes?
So they
What
did.
kind of things did
Yes.
they ask?
So they did. There were a couple of changes in that, and I don't have my memo in front of me, of course. They asked us to, most of them were like a slight tweaks. So, and that is the version that you have in front of you today. So there is one change that I want to suggest for the map that Joshua had kind of mentioned before. But for example, we clarified that like parking has to be on a surfaced, like an actual surface.
All right, sir.
Because there was some concern that there's a lot of people parking on grass and the stuff, and while it was subtly in there that you couldn't just park anywhere you wanted to, we kind of clarified that language that you had to park on the actual surfaces. And then there was a couple of things we cleared up on setbacks that were just minor tweaks that, like when we started going back and forth, it was like, okay, I think this would be better written this way, and again, we weren't really changing anything substantive. Most of the changes they had suggested were related to the zoning map. And that is because from the time we started initiated it, we had kind of some staff level discussions, that some of the corridors, there were still some areas, we kind of translated your current zoning map, so anything residential kind of went residential, but when we really looked at it, there was a lot of residential areas that were actually being used for commercial. There was some commercial areas that were residential. So we went through and cleared that up. We also kind of actually made some of the major corridors neighborhood business districts, where there was like some business on one side and residential across it, because the neighborhood business district is designed to be kind of a transitional area, so it allows for the residents, so they're not non-conforming or grandfathered, they're fine, they're allowed, but it also would allow them to turn those into offices, or they could tear them down and make some small scale commercial. Again, these are areas that, we kind of discussed you could envision going it anyway, but they're not in any district, and especially given the lot sizes that you're gonna see like a Menards or something out there, which I know you have somewhere else, but, they're not gonna be big scale developments. There is one change that I did want to bring up tonight that we just made from the Planning Commission's recommendations is, there are two properties on the northeast side of Ridge Street that are currently commercial. They're apartment buildings.
One's an apartment, one's single family,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
so we don't know how it got zoned that way in the first place, but thankfully you caught it. And so we have suggested that if you're going to move forward with this, that you approve one minor map change of making those R2. And so that will bring it in compliance with the surrounding neighborhood. Yeah, good question.
Any other questions?
So obviously you got a lot of time and thought into this, so appreciate that.
Well, and it was good working with the Planning Commission because a lot of it is tailoring it based on what are the needs. Like, we had a lot of discussion about like enforcement, just even in how writing the certificate of zoning compliance. Like, when do we want people to come in and get a certificate? I don't expect council or Planning Commission to really have a lot to say on that, but from staff's level, They wanna know when uses change, because now, we can check it for taxes, we know, whether or not they have to go get other permits. So it's good just to, even if you're just saying, just come in and just let us know that your use is allowed, it allows for better tracking of it. So we spent some time just modifying stuff to work the way the city wants things to work, just administratively. And also, to be honest, making it easier for people to understand what's allowed. So there is one chapter that is solely focused on accessory uses and temporary uses, which there's not a lot of temporary uses. The reason why I always suggest that is because residents, when they interact with the zoning, are not usually looking at what can I build on my lot. They have a home, and typically what they want to know is where can I put my pool, where can I put my shed, how big can it be, what are the setbacks and stuff. So they can go to one chapter and figure that out. The rest of it is when you have developers involved. Where can I build a house? And then the resident's gonna figure out where the accessory stuff is gonna go. So that's like one of those things where, it's just kind of best practices we try to work in there.
How about you, Josh? You're gonna have to administer all this stuff. Got anything you'd like to say?
I think she nailed it. I mean, a bulk of the changes were down in the weeds that we handle on day to day. Enforcement was kind of a lot of gray areas in the current code. Cleared a lot of that up. Definitions were terrible, and a lot of things, anything legal ends up with what's the definition say. But I think we're gonna see good effects here in 15, 20 years after this stuff starts coming to fruition, so it was much needed.
All right.
Hey, Wendy?
Yes.
Would you mention to council again about the ridge and what you'll need them to do as far as that?
If-
So that they take note, because they're gonna have to be the ones that
Correct.
make that
And we
amendment.
will let, Marvin know, but if you were gonna make a motion, I would suggest that you would approve what planning commission recommended, at their August meeting, with the addition of a map change for 2 properties that we have rezoned from commercial to R2 on northeast side of Ridge Road. It is in the zoning map that staff has, and it's marked as today's date.
You folks back here, if we're talking about zoning codes, are you got any questions?
And
All right, so,
I will add one thing, just as kind of, and I think I've had a discussion with you about this, but, one of the things I always suggest, when you have this substantial a change, just keep an eye. It's one of those things for the first 6 months or a year, things are gonna get, a little squirrely sometimes, and, because part of it's just relearning. This is an entirely reorganized code. And it's completely understandable and completely typical that in about a year, you may have to make, some adjustments and some clarification. Something didn't work out the way we thought it was gonna work. Because we were looking at like recent cases and stuff. Well, when you start applying it elsewhere, it may be like, oh, we didn't think of that. So there's typically in about a year, there's a little bit of, again, 1 page of cleanups or something like that. Just as you monitor it as it goes along.
anyone else? Get down, we'll assign this to the Zone and Annexation Committee. They'll take it and make it from recommendations and for final approval, so, next phase it will go there, so we'll have meetings again on the zoning rules, so. Again, Wendy, I thank you for your 2 years of coming here and working with us, and Josh,
You
as
again.
far as all your work.
So you're zoning and annexing.
All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thanks. 7:19. Thank you, Wendy. This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise, remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Walker.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day in our beautiful city. We just are grateful for the people that serve this city, keep everybody safe as they are out there serving this city. Be with this council this evening as we represent our residents and our employees. Help us make the right decisions based on you, Father. We pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and welcome. We'll start off with roll call.
Mr. Kreinbell, Mr. Lonzer.
Here.
Mr. Pace,
Here.
Mrs. Ramos, Mr. Rippett, Mr. Simmelink,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
Let it be known that Mrs. Ramos, Mr. Rippeth, and Mr. Crimeville and Law Director Fada were excused from this evening's meeting. All right, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda for tonight. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Yeah. I need to add to the agenda this evening, a vote for a liquor license. Is
Well,
that correct?
just need to,
Just the ordinance?
yes.
Okay, add on ordinance number 27, 2024 for its first reading.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lonzer. Any discussion by administration, council, roll call?
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
All right, are there any additions to the agenda tonight? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Mr. Walker, need a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Zemlik, thank you. In discussion by council, administration, roll call.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
All right, agenda has been approved. Minutes, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from our last council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, and entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Pace, need a second? Mr. Semlik, thank you. Any discussion by administration, council, roll call?
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, minutes have been approved. Correspondence, Ms. Courtwright.
To Council Clerk from Treasurer Gerber dated September 8th, 2024. This is the investment and savings report from the Treasurer's Office for August of 2024. To Councilwoman Ramos from President Kemp dated August 28th, 2024. This is an email titled New Zoning Codes that was replied to by Mrs. Ramos and Code Administrator Josh Mathias. To Council and Administration from Executive Administrative Assistant to the Mayor Jamie Bailey dated September 3rd, 2024. This is the August month-end report for the Mayor's Office. To President Kemp from Law Director Fate dated September 5th, 2024. This is an email titled, Please Assign to the Finance Committee with Ordinance 26, 2024 concerning the city's intention to auction off a street sweeper. President Kemp asked Mr. Rippeth to take this issue into his committee. To President Kemp from Fire Chief Parrish dated September 4th, 2024. This is an email titled Annual Ambulance Committee Meeting. President Kemp asked Mr. Simmelink to set up a meeting of the Ambulance Committee on September 23rd, 2024. To Council and Administration from Assistant to the Service Director Jonalee Furnett dated September 6th, 2024. This is an email titled September Board of Zoning Appeals, no meeting. This email states that there will not be a meeting because no variance requests have been received. That concludes correspondence for this
All
evening, Mr.
right,
President.
thank you, Ms. Courtwright. We'll move into our administrative reports. First up, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, fellow administrators, and guests. A couple things I'd like to highlight from the report I sent you earlier today. Now that Wendy Moeller of Compass Point Planning has given her final public presentation of the city's new zoning code, the next step will be the code's adoption by City Council. That should come next month. Once approved, the new code will be posted on the city's website and the link will be shared on the city's Facebook page, so you can download a PDF copy of it. And now that the city's received $300,000 in grant money, I've asked Service Director McAbeer to use it to begin construction of Phase 2 of the Southside Community Parks development. The Kimball Foundation has given $50,000 toward the project, and thanks to the efforts of State Representative Brett Hillier and State Senator Al Landis, the project has received $250,000 from the state's capital budget. The money will help get the construction underway, get things started. It'll take about $2 million to complete all the improvements in the Phase 2 project. Senator Sherrod Brown's office recently informed the service director that the city's application for federal funding for the project was rejected, but he was told to keep trying. That concludes my report. Any questions?
I did not get a copy. Can you?
Yeah, I didn't
You didn't?
either.
You know,
I didn't either.
Well, guess
You
what the
forgot to
mayor
hit
forgot to
send.
do today?
It's in.
You ready to hit
I
send?
forgot to send you copies. As soon as the
But
meeting's
it's a
over, I'll
good
go up to
report.
my office and send you copies.
It's a
I
good
wondered,
report.
Julie, because you
Yeah, I
didn't
always
mention
have
it.
that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, any questions for the
Any
mayor?
questions? Okay, well, if you have any questions, once you receive it, you know how to get a hold of me. Okay?
Thanks, Mayor Day.
Thank you.
All right, Service Director, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Evening, everyone. Next, I want to talk about Franklin Square, the big project down there with the storm sewers. As you see, 4th Street, they're done in there for a minute. They're down on Bank Lane there, coming up 4th Drive to head up to Front. Remember, that's 5-foot line, so imagine the size of the hole, and it's sandy down there. So it's been a challenge even there. As I had said before, putting that sanitary sewer in on 4th Street was a challenge. This has not been as bad, but you're talking with a 5-foot pipe, so it has still been a challenge. We're gonna work on opening up 4th Street possibly. We're talking about it. And then maybe kind of a travel type thing, because we never set anything in the contract to set in for a preliminary road as far as that, because we know that all gets paved. So there's nothing in the contract, so we might put some signs up, you know, slow, and then just let them maintain a little bit. Still thinking about it, because it's another 3 weeks before they get back to that point, they think. So, but they still think to be on that October 31st deadline, so let's keep that, let's hope, you know, we're shooting for that, let's make that happen. Also, the KSU Connector Trail, on the east end, the widening's done down there up to the entrance to our hangars. I always call them the green hangars on that end of High Street. That's done. The approaches are done in those areas and in Timken. Again, the widening's done. There was 3 storm sewers in there that they had to tie in. Since then, they moved up and they started at 8th Street, and they're moving east to 13th Street. Right now, what you're seeing them do is excavate that out for new curbs. And then also with those curbs, all new approaches just into the driveways. Nothing in sidewalks, so that they can make that wide. Once they do that and actually get all the way up to Beaver, they'll switch that lanes back over. So you see them switch over again once they get over to the south side. So that's what's going on at that point. And I know that before, Councilman Griffith has asked about possibly stacking some more cars in that turn lane. Last week, I did talk with Dan Lorenz from ODOT. Had asked if we could possibly do that, and sent in a drawing. If you look at down there, it's got it was real easy to do, because it's got a 100-foot radius to get into that. We just kicked it to a 50, so that'll help. So with a 50, it kicks it quicker in there, and then it gives us probably a length about 2 more vehicles. So again, we was able to do that, and it got okayed Thursday. So we're good to go. They'll make those changes. So again, they'll be able to get a couple more cars in there. I think maybe even Councilman Simlink might have asked about it, but that was being able to be done. It got changed, so again, good thing. Also, I want to talk just quickly about the grant. Preliminary stuff is we may be looking at over on the Pee Wee football side and the soccer side. It was in the master plan of putting a 4-unit restroom over there, possibly a little concession stand, looking just like our restrooms do down there, split face block, the overhangs, the black metal plating for it, and then it has also the one we're looking at, but I gotta wait to get a price naturally, also has a little pavilion off of it, so that, you know, if anything happens, they can get underneath that pavilion and everything, but that's right now preliminary, waiting to get numbers back. But I just wanted to follow up with the Merritt brought up in his report. That's where we're at right now. Where it goes, I'm not sure, because of just, you know, pricing is just, another thing that'd be nice to have down there, daily, you're bringing equipment, and even as much as a weed whip with you. Be great to have a garage, a small garage or something in there. We're trailering everything down there. For the most part, the mower that the Great Alls, had given us so that's basically what we do most of that down there with. That could almost stay there. But we're trailering that every day. A weed whip, brooms, you name it, you know, everything's down there. So, if we can get something there, you know, if the restroom concession stand goes a little high, maybe that and maybe something else. But, just preliminary stuff right now, working on some few things to get it done. You know, unfortunately, the one from Sherrod Brown didn't come through, but they did say keep trying. But, that's why we gotta get through this 300,000, so we're gonna try to, and that, like I said, that was part of the master plan, and a building was also, so we're just gotta peck at it and keep moving forward with it. But, that's the end of my report though.
Any questions for Mr. McAbeer? Yes, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, Mr. McAbeer, did we get people's mail figured out to them down there?
No,
No?
no, they still, refuse, but I take that back, there was 2 days last week that they did.
Okay,
Again, I think mistake, but it's hit and miss,
yeah,
depending on who doesn't get the memo.
gotcha.
Oh, and I forgot, I did want to bring one more thing up. Right before the end of the day, today, there was a leak out on Fifth and Lewis. They stayed out tonight, turned some valves down, got it isolated, and then right whenever I was coming in here, they was getting ready to leave. They're gonna work on it tomorrow. No interruptions of service at all, no kind. Everybody's gonna have water when we fix it. Again, we isolated it. I'll back out there tomorrow just in case anybody gets a call and says, hey, there's water here at Fifth and Lewis. There's a catch basin 10 feet away from it. It's going in there and it's not much, but I just wanted to bring that up.
All right. Any questions? Yes, Mr.
The
Case?
KSU connector trail, is that supposed to be done by October 31st too?
That, yeah, both of them are right there at
That's what I thought.
that same, yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be nice to get it finished. I mean,
Yeah.
Because we gotta remember, that's all paved from the site to Beaver. From right there at Founder's Hall, all the way to Beaver too, is part of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they've got that timeline for hot mix or whatever, you know, for paving.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're gonna pave that whole thing.
correct.
They're all done.
Yeah, from Founder's Hall all the way in. It was one of those, and I may have talked about it earlier, I mean, I know I have. It was one of those that was scheduled for next year. I'm like, you know better than that, they'll just butcher us all if we do something like that. So anyways, they moved that up, and then next year, they'll go the rest of the way. So you won't see, they're just gonna do a butt joint at Founder's Hall and just roll in town. They'll do the rest going out next year. But that's what the money they had for this year, so helped us too, because we're only paying 20% of it, so.
That's much more than just a bike path.
Huh?
Much more than just a bike path.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. It's, and bike paths on both sides.
Correct.
Right.
One of the residents along there said, I think he called you, Barnett, was concerned how far you were gonna go, and he was very pleased with your answer and
Oh,
your
okay.
explanation.
Yep, I'd called, yep,
I know he'd had some concerns months ago, and
yeah,
he thinks it's pretty good now.
yeah. I think, one of the calls I got with, when they first did that changeover, they're thinking that's the lane, and everybody's on that, they're like, no, it's just temporary, just temporary. It's gonna change again, just until you see, you know, October or something down and it's paved, then that's the final thing. But I got a lot when they did that, so,
Yeah. Good.
okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. McAbeer. Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Auditor, Mrs. Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right, thank you. Move on, Treasurer, Mr. Gerber.
No report, sir.
All right. Law Director not here tonight, so we'll move into our Board Commission reports. Planning Commission, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning Commission will not meet this month. They need to rest, and there's nothing on our agenda, so we'll regroup and regather in October, the second Tuesday in October at 1 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Contrary to the clerk's report from John Lee, we did have one come in late. I didn't realize she did not follow up. I don't know did everybody from council get it from John Lee? We do have one tomorrow. We will be meeting tomorrow at 5 PM here in council chambers with a variance request over lot coverage 1161.04. It's one of those strange ones that with this code, the code was in, it's fine. Without the code, it's where it's straight at a 33%. But we got, the permitted uses, principal uses are allowed. So I think Josh is gonna go kind of explain to him a little bit, hey, just so you know, this, the principal use is one thing, and then what's these other things afterwards don't really count against the thing. So Josh is gonna go there, explain that to him tomorrow, but there will be one variance request to be heard.
All right.
Oh,
All
you
right.
got it.
You got it right here?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, did you get it? Okay, good. She sent it to you, but just must not send anything
Yeah, I
down?
don't think I got it.
All right, Airport Commission, Mr. Lanzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Airport Commission will be meeting tomorrow evening, 6 PM at the Harry Cleaver Airport Meeting Facility.
All right, thank you. Park Board, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No formal report, but just wanted to congratulate Mr. Adam Fulton, Superintendent. We just finished up another great year at Tuscarora Park. Park looks great, and a lot of hard work gets put into that, volunteers everywhere around, so.
Yes, it does. You get a lot of work.
Can't say any more, anything else about Tuscarora Park other than it's just a great place, so.
It's a
We're
show
certainly
place
blessed
for
to
the
have it.
Philly, right?
Blessed to have it. So.
Yeah.
Do you, Mr. Pace, do you want to say anything about tilapia? I mentioned that in my.
Actually,
mayor's
the tilapia that have been, they are now able to be harvested. They've done great as far as Tuscarora Park Pond goes, of keeping the algae down. And if you catch a tilapia between now and before the water gets too cold, you can take them home and eat them. So,
There was guys fishing today. I was out there at lunch.
yeah, my kids were actually over there yesterday, and there was a gentleman cast netting for them, and he was actually catching them, but he was just catching them and throwing them back in. And Coach's like, "Hey, you can keep those," and he decided not to. But they are safe to eat, and I think the idea of putting tilapia in there ended up being a good idea. So you can even see the little ones, the real little minnows that are feeding the bass and the catfish in there. It's pretty cool. So,
It
and I guess we will be releasing the date for the Fall Trout Derby here this week, and it'll be a fun one. So,
All right.
looking forward to it.
Turned out to be a great thing over there,
Absolutely.
fishing derby. All right, Health Board, Mr. Simmerlink.
The Health Board meets, thank you, Mr. President. The Health Board meets noon Wednesday. In the meantime, the Health Department here has received a supply of the new COVID vaccination stuff, which they have started to distribute. They're also doing a lot of flu shots, and they're doing some, I think they got a thing going on at Great Hall, several other locations. But they're, I think people are interested in this new COVID shot, and so we got it now. That's it. Board meeting's Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Moving to our council committee reports. Mr. Ripper is not here for finance. Dan, Public Works and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Safety, Health and Service, Mr. Simmerlink.
No reports.
And Cheryl's not here for zone annexation. Chris is not here for the salary. Mitch, I won't forget you, Mr. Walker, won't
All
forget you
right,
this
thank you,
time.
Mr. President.
Contact
Uh,
us special.
Special Contact Committee met this evening at 6:45 with Mr. Similink and Mitch in presence. We had 3 items to discuss this evening. One was ordinance number 27, 2024, which we added to tonight's agenda for its first reading. Second, or the next 2 are liquor license. One is a transfer, and the other is a new liquor license. We would like to take a vote on those at this time for action.
All right. In discussion by council, administration, roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Similink.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right. They, voice vote, they pass, so. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you. Oh, we adjourned at 6:48.
Oh, great. There you go. All right. Floor is now open for visitors' comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise, state your name and address all comments to the chair. We have some Boy Scouts tonight. You want to introduce yourself, or?
Not really.
Well, it's good to have you here as a Boy Scout. That's always, you guys are always welcome, so thanks for coming. Council comments, any council members' comments tonight? All right, moving to our legislative agenda. Ms. Courtwright.
Ordinance number 23, 2024, an ordinance by the council of the city of New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, authorizing the auditor to establish a new fund called the Downtown Quadrant Maintenance Fund, number 282, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? All right, hearing none, will be held for our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Ordinance number 27, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the Tuscarawas County Public Defender's Office for the provision of legal representation for indigents charged with violations of New Philadelphia city ordinances in the municipal court where such offenses carry a possible loss of liberty, establishing compensation and terms thereof, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there any action to be taken on this ordinance this evening? Yes. All right, hearing none, be held for the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
That concludes legislation for this
All
evening.
right, thank you, Ms. Courtwright. Is there any unfinished old business? Is there any new business tonight? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alonso. 7:52, thank you, everyone.
Nice job. Check your laptops.